Hello and welcome to Chapter 15 of Nightfall, the AI written and voice acted crossover adventure. I'm New Photoson, and in this chapter we'll be rejoining Stephanie and Lisa Simpson. The last time we saw these two, they abandoned Spike in the Carousel Boutique in order to, travel together way back in Chapter 5. I could have let them just sort of walk out of the story entirely, but I had some ideas based on Lisa's previous appearances on how her story could kind of move forward, along with her interactions with Shaggy and the stuff with Bart. So I decided to kind of feed those to the AI for the prompt for this chapter, and then what follows here is just what the AI did with that prompt. So let's get into it. Stephanie and Lisa entered the woods, hoping to find the campfire where Lisa had met Shaggy and Bender. They had encountered an old woman on the way who told them of the many dangers in the woods, but that they would encounter the most trouble if they went to the campfire. They traveled through the woods, but did not encounter the old woman again. They came upon the carcass of a deer, freshly killed, and a very large wolf. Nearby was a stream choked with vines and moss. The girls sat down on a nearby rock and began to drink. A shadow darted over them from above, and there was a rustling of leaves and grass. A green-skinned woman with silver hair stood over them. Her eyes were glowing red, and she had a long tongue.
"Who's there?"
asked Lisa. She drew her sword.
"Nobody,"
said the woman.
"Just a friendly visitor."
Lisa sheathed her sword.
"Do you wish for assistance?"
said the woman.
"Or should I kill you?"
Stephanie looked at the woman and her eyes widened.
"That's the veteran. You know her."
asked Lisa.
"I know her,"
said Stephanie.
"What did you call me?"
the woman asked, her eyes narrowing.
"The lady. I only meant that you were shaped like a vet,"
said Stephanie. The woman smiled.
"You are a poor child,"
she said.
"I can sense it. Perhaps you would like to come live with me and be my assistant."
Lisa looked at Stephanie. Stephanie's eyes were wide.
"Do we have a choice?"
asked Lisa.
"Not really,"
said Stephanie.
"Oh."
said Lisa.
"Very well. I suppose it would be silly to kill you."
"Why?"
asked Lisa.
"Well, you are obviously a bold, brave and quick child. I could use someone like you."
"What will become of me?"
asked Stephanie.
"You will live with me and be my assistant."
said the woman.
"You'll be able to travel with me, and I even adopt you."
I don't know.
said Stephanie.
I am a poor peasant. I'm a librarian. I have an education and knowledge, right?
"You are a bold peasant, and those are qualities I have."
said the woman. She walked toward Lisa and Stephanie and began to examine them.
"I see the blood of royalty in you,
she said.
and the blood of a warrior in you as well."
Thank you.
said Lisa.
"You are very lucky to have such fine assistants."
said the woman, turning her attention to Stephanie. Stephanie smiled. Lisa was still unsure.
Is there any way I can make you change your mind?
asked Lisa.
"No."
said the woman.
There must be something.
said Lisa.
"Nothing."
said the woman. Lisa looked to Stephanie. Stephanie shrugged. Lisa looked to the witch.
We are in your debt.
She said.
For your kindness, if you would only tell us how to get back to the world of humans, we would be eternally grateful.
"But I cannot do.
said the woman.
Only the King of the Silver River can do that. If he will not hear you, you will not see Bart again."
Lisa was crestfallen, and Stephanie was upset. It seemed there was no way back to the world of humans.
I wish we could save you.
said Stephanie.
"You may,
said the woman. Lisa looked at the witch again.
but only if you wish it, too."
She said.
I would be a final pass, couldn't you?
said Stephanie.
But what about my family?
asked Lisa.
I have to get back to them.
"They will not be in danger while you are with me,
said the witch.
and I will do everything in my power to get you back home."
Lisa looked back at the campfire. The light gave her a magical feeling. She was about to go to the campfire when she saw something glittering in the light. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a golden egg.
"What's this?"
asked the witch. Lisa looked at Stephanie, who shrugged.
I have no idea.
said Lisa.
I found it in the grass.
"Well, you may keep it."
said the witch. Lisa stared at the golden egg in surprise.
Keep it.
said Lisa.
It's a king's.
"Keep it anyway."
Lisa walked over to the campfire and sat down. Stephanie followed her.
What are you going to do? Are you?
asked Stephanie.
I'm not sure.
Answered Lisa.
I need to think.
"You may stay here tonight."
said the witch.
Here.
asked Lisa.
"Yes."
said the witch.
"You may stay with me. The King of the Silver River must not be allowed to escape. If he reaches the Nightmare Realm, it will be the end of all of us."
Lisa looked at Stephanie. Stephanie sighed and nodded.
We'll stay.
said Stephanie.
"Good, good, good."
said the witch. The witch gave Lisa a tin cup of water and said,
"You may wash away the filth of the world and wash yourself clean if you wish."
Lisa smiled and began washing her face in the cup with a few drops of the water. When she was done, she looked up at the witch.
Now, where may I find the king of the Silver River?
She asked.
"The King of the Silver River resides in a tower in the Lost Realm."
said the witch.
I know.
said Lisa.
But where is the lost realm?
The witch looked at Lisa.
"Lost Realm?
She said.
It is the farthest realm from here. Why do you ask?"
Lisa smiled. She knew where the Lost Realm was. It was the one place that Shaggy had said she could go. The one place that might let her bring her brother back from the dead.
Thank you, witch!
Said Lisa.
I have a favor to ask you.
Ask away.
Said the witch.
If I may, could you take care of this girl for me?
Asked Lisa.
She is a child of the light and a guest of mine.
Said the witch.
Of course I will.
The witch smiled, stretched her arms, and walked off into the woods. Lisa followed the witch. When they were out of earshot of Stephanie, Lisa said,
I need to talk to you about my brother!
What's wrong with him?
Asked the witch, stopping.
I don't know!
Said Lisa.
I need to talk to you in private!
The witch nodded and said,
I will wait for you in my tent. Do not be long.
The witch walked away into the woods, while Lisa followed. When they were alone, Lisa said,
Now tell me about Bart.
The witch smiled and said,
Bart is a strange one. Never known him to be particularly bright. He's very good with animals, though. When your family was captured, he made a deal with the Nightmare King so that he could protect you.
Lisa nodded.
The Nightmare King made him a girl, which gave him the strength to keep you safe, but also made him crave flesh and blood.
Lisa nodded and said,
Those aren't supposed to have families.
The Nightmare King is greedy, cruel, and doesn't respect his own rules.
Said the witch.
Bart's as good as dead. I'm sorry about that. You're free to leave whenever you like. But I ask you to stay. Bart needs you.
The witch told her 2 names that she would need to know to rescue Bart. Lisa looked at the witch and said,
I have to go.
Do you now?
Said the witch.
Very well. Lie wiser. May the light bless you, and may you return with Bart.
Thanks and goodbye, Witch of the Woods.
Lisa said, leaving the tent. Lisa walked in the direction the Witch of the Woods had gone. She wanted to leave and go find her brother. That was the only thing that mattered. She walked in the woods and kept going. Stephanie would be safe in the witch's care. She was sure of that. Bart would be saved. That was all that mattered. After a long while, there was a light in the distance. Lisa followed it. When she reached the source, she saw a campfire. This was the one. The strange, magic campfire she had found once before. A tall, scraggly man sat on the other side of it. He had long, stringy hair that hung past his face, and an unkempt beard. He wore a green shirt and brown pants. Lisa approached the man. He looked up from some thought in his mind and said,
Hello, listen, do you have come to free Bartimaeus?
Yes!
said Lisa.
Then you must take me with you. Bartimaeus is the only one who can get me out of here. I've been a slave of the Nightmare King for years. I'm his equal in strength. If you take me with you, you can.
Lisa looked at the man and said,
You must be a strong one.
I am known by many names, but you may call me Shaggy.
Where is Bart?
Lisa asked.
He's at the Nightmare King's castle. You must hurry. If you don't, Bartimaeus will be killed.
Lisa nodded. She took Shaggy by the hand and said,
Come with me. Shaggy, I need you.
Shaggy smiled and said,
I knew I could rely on you. Lisa.
They entered a dense part of the woods. They walked in silence. After a long, quiet walk, they came to a river. On the other side of the river was a building of dark stone. It jutted from the edge of the mountain, overlooking the river. Shaggy looked up at it and said,
The Nightmare King's castle. We must cross the river.
Why?
asked Lisa.
I thought the Nightmare King was dead.
The Nightmare King is dead, but his shadow rules the Nightmare Realm. He resides in the castle we are now approaching. It is his will that Bartimaeus and I remain. Take me across the river and into the Nightmare Realm,
Lisa looked at Shaggy.
Why are you willing to help me free Bartimaeus?
because he's my brother. We were both cursed by the Nightmare King in order to protect the ones we love.
Shaggy explained.
We're both cursed with tremendous power, trying to protect our little sisters.
Then why didn't you just use your powers to kill the Nightmare King when you had the chance?
Lisa asked, frustrated.
The Nightmare King can't be slain with power he is given.
Said Shaggy.
It is a great mystery. Perhaps one day you will unravel it.
I doubt it.
Said Lisa.
I'll just go in and get Bart.
No,
Said Shaggy.
you must take me in. Bartimaeus is at the very edge of death. If you take me in, you can heal him and bring him back to life. He will need that.
Lisa looked at Shaggy.
How do I know you're not lying?
She asked.
You don't.
Said Shaggy. They crossed the river. With Shaggy's power, they entered the Nightmare Realm. A voice inside a dark tunnel said,
I told you that the Nightmare King would reward you. Bart.
cried Lisa.
You're all better. I knew you'd come.
I did too.
Said Shaggy.
I'm here to help.
Bart, it's so good to see you.
Said Lisa, embracing her brother.
My soul's been trapped here ever since I met the Nightmare King.
Bart said with a sigh.
I'm sorry for all the trouble I caused. Don't be.
Said Lisa.
All is forgiven. You're home. I'm glad to hear that.
Said Bart. Lisa led Bart to a small house in the Nightmare Realm.
This is your home now.
Said Lisa.
You'll be staying with us. Do I have to?
Asked Bart, nervously looking around.
No, Bart.
Said Lisa. Lisa went back across the river. She returned with a large bag. She dumped its contents onto the floor of her home, which included a sleeping bag, pillow, blanket, and a large bag of chips.
I brought you some supplies,
said Lisa.
You can keep them in the bag here. You might want to put some of the chips in the bag.
Bart looked at the chips.
What are these for?
He asked.
You'll find out soon enough,
said Lisa, closing the bag. Bart went into the bag and shut himself up in it. Lisa went into a corner, grabbed a pillow, and began to snore loudly. Bart stood there, looking around.
Can I do anything?
He asked. Lisa shook her head.
No, just stay here and rest.
Bart looked at the bag of chips. He could hear the crunching of the chips, but he could not see them. The bag made a low rumbling sound, but he could not see where it was. He decided to eat one of the chips. He picked one up. He bit into it.
Ah,
He said after his first chip.
would you like another chip?
Asked Lisa, startling Bart.
Yes, please.
Said Bart. Lisa went into the bag and got another chip for Bart. He ate that one too.
How many chips do you have in this bag? A dozen.
Said Lisa.
Get out of the bag.
Asked Bart, curious. Lisa smiled.
I do.
Bart looked around the Nightmare Realm. The place seemed ancient, unlike the other realms he had visited. The furniture was all hard and ancient, the sleeping bags ancient, and the air smelled old, like the home of a grumpy wizard. The home across from him was ancient too, and seemed to have been abandoned for a long time. The home across the street was bright and appeared to be occupied by old people. Bart looked at the bag of chips. The chips were the only thing in the realm that made any noise.
How much longer are we going to sit here?
Asked Bart.
We should get moving.
Shaggy said.
Till we get to the Lost Realm, Bartimens will remain a go, unable to enjoy life.
Bart looked over at the sleeping bag with the snoring Lisa.
She's snoring.
Said Bart, pointing to the bag.
I'll wake her.
And with that, Shaggy jumped out of the bag and Bart jumped in after him. The two of them ran off towards the castle where the Nightmare King used to live. They ran for a long time, until finally they came to it. The castle was dark, but no light shone from it.
Is that it?
Asked Bart, disappointed.
No,
Is there another way in?
there is another way in, but it is dark and dangerous.
Then how do we get in?
If I touch this ring, a light will appear.
Said Shaggy. Bart touched the ring. A small light appeared on his finger.
Stay back.
Said Shaggy, putting Bart and Ghoul Boy in front of him.
Don't be scared, Bartimeus.
Said Lisa, putting her hand on the ghoul's shoulder. The light sparkled, and it was the most beautiful sight he'd ever seen. He felt himself drawing closer to the Ghoul Boy, who had once been his body, and before he knew it, they had become one once again.
Hurry!
Lisa cried.
Bart's back.
But it won't hold.
Shaggy said, shaking his head.
We must get him to the Lost Realm before sunrise.
Lisa had already taken Bart by the arm, dragging him along. She dragged him down the pathway towards the castle.
Can we not just sneak in?
Bart asked.
There is a way, but it is dangerous. I will lead you, and you must follow.
I don't like this.
Said Lisa.
There's something about that place. I will be fine.
Said Bart, looking worried.
Let's go.
Said Lisa. They came to a large door in the castle. Lisa put her finger to her lips and they went inside. The room was black.
Here.
Said Shaggy.
This is as far as I can take you.
Lisa pulled Bart aside and whispered into his ear.
If anything goes wrong, I'll meet you back here. What are you going to do?
Bart asked.
I'm going to try to get you to the Lost Realm.
Said Lisa.
I have to go alone. I'll be back before sunrise.
Lisa let Bart go and he stood there in the shadows looking sad while she left.
She'll be back.
Said Bart.
She always comes back.
Yeah.
Said Shaggy.
It's just that her brother and I are sort of stuck here forever.
The two boys chuckled together as Lisa entered the sacred room. The path to the Lost Realm led through a long corridor. Along the corridor were 2 rows of cells. In each cell were imprisoned the Lost. The Lost were people who had once been human, but who had allowed themselves to be taken into the Nightmare Realm, where they existed as thralls, slaves to the Nightmare King. There were many different kinds of Lost, some friendly and some hostile. Lisa felt some pity for them, as Bart would join their ranks if she failed her mission. However, they were too dangerous to let loose into the world now. A Lost known as Catra was being held in the first cell on the left. She was a cat-like girl with large spiky hair that framed her face like a mane.
Wake up, you slug.
Said Lisa.
You'll be leaving here soon.
What's your name?
Said Catra.
I'm Lisa.
Said Lisa.
What's a nice girl like you doing in a place like this?
Catra sneered.
Only the lost belong in this prison.
I need you to help me take my brother to the Lost Realm.
Lisa said, her eyes bleeding. She held out a golden egg as an offering.
The witch told me I could trust you.
Of course I'll help you.
Said Catra.
I'll help you tear this place down and get you the finest breakfast this side of breakfast.
Thanks.
Said Lisa.
What's going to happen to you?
Said Catra.
I'm going to try to get my brother back to normal,
Said Lisa.
so he can become the next king of the Silver River.
So that seemed to me like kind of a fun, dramatic cliffhanger of an ending. Next time we'll see how Catra can help them get Bart to the Lost Realm, But there's going to be some twists and some turns along the way. Chapter 16 is actually shaping up to be probably the longest chapter so far, at least potentially, so it might be a while before it's ready for YouTube. Still though, I hope you'll all be there for when it eventually does come out, and if you happen to miss the previous chapter, here's a little preview of what you missed.
Did you really kill those people?
Asked Caillou.
What?
Asked Spike, taken aback.
Did you?
No,
Said Spike.
I did not.
Why would I believe you?
Asked Caillou.
And what's with the crazy eye?
The what?
Asked Spike.
You mean the shape my eye takes when I'm trying to lie? It's a dog. A crazy duck. With a head. Get out of here. I believe you.